Welcome to Captain English Podcast. I'm Paul, and I'm super excited to be here with my amazing co-host.
And I'm Alice. It's great to be back with all of you wonderful listeners. Paul, today we're tackling a topic that I think many English learners and even native speakers find a little challenging: how to keep a conversation going.
Absolutely, Alice. It's one of those things, right? You meet someone new, you start talking, and then silence. Awkward. It's like, what do I say next? My mind just goes blank. We've all been there.
Oh, definitely. It's like hitting a wall. And for English learners, it can be even harder because you're also thinking about grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation. It's a lot to manage. So today we want to give you some really simple, actionable tips to keep those chats flowing smoothly.
That's right. And we're going to explain everything in very simple English, step by step. So, let's dive straight in. My first big tip, and I think this is super important, is to take the pressure off yourself. What do I mean by that? Don't feel like you have to be the most interesting person in the room. Instead, focus on being interested.
Oh, that's such a good point, Paul. It's like we often worry, am I funny enough? Do I have cool stories? But actually, people love talking about themselves. So if you show genuine interest in them, they'll often do most of the talking.
Exactly. It takes a lot of the stress away. You don't have to entertain them. You just have to listen and ask good questions. Which leads us to our next big point. Ask open-ended questions. This is probably the most powerful tool you have.
Okay, Paul, for our listeners, can you explain what an open-ended question is in simple terms?
Of course. So, an open-ended question is a question that cannot be answered with just yes or no. It requires more than one word. It encourages the other person to share more information, more details, and more feelings. For example, instead of asking, "Did you have a good weekend?" which gets a yes or no, you could ask something like, "What did you do this weekend?"
Ah, I see. So, what did you do this weekend forces them to tell a little story. They might say, "Oh, I went hiking," or "I visited my family." And from that, you get new things to talk about.
Exactly. That's the key. Think of words like what, how, why, tell me about. These are your friends. So if someone says, "I went hiking," you don't just say, "Oh, okay." You follow up.
Yes, the follow-up question is so crucial. It shows you are listening, which is another big tip we'll get to. So if they say, "I went hiking," what's a good follow-up question, Paul?
You could say, "Oh, really? Where did you go hiking?" Or, "What was the best part of the hike?" Or, "How long was the trail?" These are all open-ended questions that keep the conversation moving and show your interest.
I love that. It's like you're peeling back the layers of an onion. You start with the general topic, and then you dig a little deeper with each question. You're trying to understand more about their experience.
That's a fantastic analogy, Alice. Peel the onion. I'm going to remember that. It really helps you get to know the person better, and they appreciate that you're genuinely listening.
Speaking of listening, that's actually our third tip. Practice active listening. It means not just hearing the words, but really paying attention to what the other person is saying, their feelings, their body language.
Yeah, active listening is huge. A lot of people, when someone else is talking, are actually just thinking about what they're going to say next. Don't do that. Be present. Give them your full attention. Nod your head. Make eye contact. Say things like, "Mm-hmm," or "I see."
Those little sounds, those affirmations, show you're engaged. And when you're actively listening, it's easier to find those forks in the road that we talked about earlier. Every conversation has multiple paths it can take.
Can you explain forks in the road a bit more, Alice?
Sure. Imagine you're walking, and you come to a place where the road splits into 2 or 3 different paths. That's a fork in the road. In a conversation, it means that when someone tells you something, there are usually several different keywords or ideas that you can choose to follow up on.
Okay, that makes sense. So if someone says, I went hiking in the mountains last weekend and saw a beautiful waterfall. What are some forks there?
Great example. You could ask about the mountains. Which mountains were they? Or the weekend. Was it a long weekend? Or the waterfall? What made the waterfall beautiful? Each of those is a new direction you can take the conversation. You pick the one that sounds most interesting to you or to them.
I love that. It gives you options, and it feels less stressful because you know there's always something else you can ask about. And listeners, if you're enjoying these tips and want to keep improving your English, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps us bring you more great content like this.
Yes, please subscribe. It means a lot to us. Now, Paul, another tip I find useful is sharing a little bit about yourself, but not too much. It shouldn't be a one-sided interview. After you ask a question and they answer, you can briefly relate it back to your own experience.
Oh, that's crucial for making it feel like a two-way street. If someone says, I love to cook Italian food, you could say, oh, I love Italian food too. My favorite is pasta carbonara. Do you have a favorite dish? You're sharing, but then you're immediately bringing the focus back to them.
Exactly. It creates a connection, a common ground. It shows you're a real person too, not just an interviewer. But remember, don't hijack the conversation and start talking for 10 minutes about your cooking experiences. Keep it short, and then toss the ball back to them.
Right. Toss the ball back. That's a great image. Think of a conversation like playing catch. You throw the ball, they catch it and throw it back. If you keep the ball, the game stops.
Another thing that really helps is using observations to start or continue a conversation. Sometimes you just don't know what to say. Look around you. What do you see? What do you notice?
This is a great icebreaker, especially if you're in a new environment. For example, if you're at a coffee shop, you could say, wow, this coffee shop has really interesting art on the walls, don't you think? Or, if you're at an event, it's quite a lively atmosphere here, isn't it?
Yes. And again, you're asking a question at the end, inviting them to respond. It's not just a statement. You're initiating an interaction based on something you both can observe. It's a low-pressure way to start.
Or even something about the weather, though that can sometimes lead to a dead end. It's a beautiful day, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so you'd want to quickly follow up with something else. Like, do you have any plans to enjoy the sunshine?
Good point. We have to be careful not to fall back into those yes-no traps. So we've talked about taking pressure off, open-ended questions, active listening, finding forks in the road, sharing a little about yourself, and using observations. What about when there's a silence? How do we handle that?
Silences are tough. My advice is, don't panic. A short silence is okay. It gives both people a moment to think. You don't always need to fill every single second. But if it lasts too long, you can use one of the techniques we just discussed. Or, you can try something called a callback.
A callback? What's that?
A callback is when you bring up something they said earlier in the conversation. Maybe they mentioned their job, or a hobby, or a trip they took. You can say, earlier, you mentioned you work in marketing. What exactly do you do in your role? Or, you said you were planning a trip. Where are you thinking of going?
Oh, that's clever. It shows you were listening not just in the moment, but you remembered something from before. That makes people feel really valued and heard. It's like you're creating a little story together.
Exactly. It really strengthens the connection. And it's a great way to restart a conversation if it goes quiet. Another thing that helps is body language. Our nonverbal communication speaks volumes, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Make sure your body language is open and inviting. Don't cross your arms, try to smile naturally, make gentle eye contact. Turn your body towards the person you're talking to. These small things make you seem more approachable and friendly.
Yeah, it signals that you're interested and ready to engage. If you're looking at your phone or looking around the room, the other person might think you're bored or not interested, and they'll stop talking.
Right. So, to recap some of our main points, take the pressure off yourself, focus on being interested, ask open-ended questions using what, how, why, actively listen and show it with your body and small sounds. Find the forks in the road in their answers to keep exploring new topics.
And remember to share a little about yourself, but always bring the focus back to them. Use observations around you to start a chat. Don't be afraid of short silences, and use callbacks to bring up earlier topics. And finally, have open, friendly body language.
These tips aren't just for learning English, they're for becoming a better communicator in any language. The more you practice them, the more natural they'll become, and the more confident you'll feel.
Absolutely, Alice. It all comes down to practice. Don't be scared to try these out. Start small, maybe with someone you know, and then try them with new people. Every conversation is a chance to learn and improve.
And remember, it's okay if a conversation doesn't last forever. The goal isn't to talk for hours, but to have a positive, engaging interaction. So go out there and practice.
That's great advice, Alice. And that's all the time we have for today on the Captain English podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for listening. We hope these tips help you feel more confident in your English conversations. Don't forget to subscribe to Captain English for more helpful episodes. Until next time, keep practicing and keep chatting.
Bye, everyone.